Yo, what's going on, guys? Today, in this video, I'm gonna be talking about something interesting that is not my theory in particular, but it's a theory that I've heard from some fans before, and I'm gonna be basically just giving my reasonings for why, my reasonings and also my opinions on this theory and why I don't necessarily agree with it and why I don't think it makes much sense, and to me at least. So that's basically what this video is going to be about. It's going to be talking about Stu Macher returning for Scream 7, and you know what the reasoning will be. And because like this video is basically going to be like if he's returning because he wants attention and fame and whatnot, because that's a theory that I've been hearing lately from some fans. So I'm just going to talk about it. So hopefully you guys enjoy. Like and subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. I would really appreciate it. I just dropped my 2 videos yesterday explaining why Quinn was the one who attacked Gale in Scream 6. I dropped a part 1 and 2 yesterday of those videos. So you guys can go check those out. They were both pretty long, but I missed out talking about certain stuff in that video, so I'm going to talk about some of them here. And one of those things are, like I said, was this specific theory that I've heard from some fans that have said that Stu Macher returning for Scream 7 could possibly be because of, him wanting attention and fame, and he feels like forgotten and no one remembers his name or whatever. And I want to talk about that because it's not a theory I made up. Like I said, this is a theory I've heard from some fans before. The thing is about like that theory, when it comes to like just looking at it at face value, it could be something interesting that, maybe they could think of for Scream 7 and something that they can go with, that I feel like, yeah, it could possibly work. But for some of the explanations that I've heard from some fans on how they would go about it, and just some of the theories on how they're explained in itself, I don't think they really make much sense, because I've heard some fans say that they want Stu to come back for Scream 7 because they believe that, he's like some of the newer characters and cast that we see in these newer movies, like they don't remember Stu anymore. They don't know who he is, and they don't, like, Stu feels like he's not being respected as much as Billy or whatever. So now he's coming back to basically resurface his name again into everyone's mouths and minds. He basically just wants to get attention, sort of get like fame and whatnot. And the reason I kind of have a hard time buying into that theory is because, first of all, if you're talking about some of the new characters not knowing who Stu is, like, for example, like some fans, they like to talk about how Tara didn't know who Stu is in Scream 5 whenever she was talking to Ghostface on the phone and whatnot. And some fans have said, like, oh, maybe this is why Stu doesn't want to return, because characters like Tara don't know who she is, or because characters in Scream 5 like Liv don't know who he is either. And like the thing is, though, is that like there was probably only a few characters from the new cast of these newer movies that I feel like you could actually say don't know who Stu is. But when it comes to like Sam, Chad, and Mindy, I'm pretty sure they know who he is. And I'm pretty sure it was really only Tara who didn't know who he is. And like, or she didn't remember him because she said she saw the Stab movies, but she just didn't know who he was on, like, in the moment. She didn't think of his name when the killer was asking her who were the original killers in the first Stab movie. And yeah, like Tara only said Billy in Scream 5. And then you had the character of Liv as well. She said, like, whenever, they brought up Leslie Mocker, and then, saying that that was Stu Mocker's sister. And then Liv was like, oh, who's Stu Mocker? Like, that's what she said in Scream 5. But there was, like I said, those were the only two characters that you could say that didn't really know who he was. So I'm pretty sure Sam, Chad, and Mindy, they knew who he was. And just because they don't constantly bring him up doesn't mean they don't know who he is. And even Mindy did bring him up in Scream 6, because whenever they were talking about, Mindy and Kirby were talking about Stu in Scream 6, like, she knew who he was, because she literally said, like, oh, the TV that kills Stu Macher, if you believe he's dead and whatever, So I'm not really sure if I buy into that theory that, like, Stu somehow knows about, he knows whoever knows who he is and doesn't know who he is. Like, how would Stu know about anyone knowing who he is or doesn't know who he is in particular? Like, he's just like, and even just most of the, everyone in, like, Woodsboro, how would he know about those, those who were living in Woodsboro? How would he know about certain, about, like, just a specific person knowing who he is or not knowing who he is? How would Stu know that? Like, he's just like, he has a microphone up, like, secretly just attached to everyone in Woodsboro, and he's hearing everyone's conversations, and he's just like, he's able to tell and hear who is constantly talking about him or not, and who knows who he is and doesn't know who he is. Like, it just, I'm not really sure if I buy that, the theory in itself. And when it comes to just, like, certain characters not knowing who Stu is, or Stu feeling like that Billy gets more recognition or respect than him. The thing is, though, is that in the original Scream, Stu was killing for fun. He wasn't like some kind of mastermind or some kind of, he didn't think of some type of big plan, and just, like, wanted to just be some twisted, tragic villain like how Billy was. He was just trying to kill for fun in the original Scream. And for him to just, like, now all of a sudden he cares about those who know who he is and doesn't know who he is, like, I don't know, it just seems kind of strange to me. Like, just the concept of it just doesn't really, I don't really think makes sense, because it's almost like you're trying to make this dude seem like sympathetic, like you're trying to make him a little tragic, like he's forgotten, he's been in the basement for over 25 years, and he's just, like, drinking his life away, and he's so sad because no one knows who he is, and they're always talking about Billy, and he somehow knows that, certain those who are living in Woodsboro, he can just tell about them knowing Billy more than him. He somehow knows that because he has a microphone attached to everyone, hearing their conversations, hearing them talk about Billy constantly more than Stu. Like, is that what's the case here? Is that what's happening here? Because it doesn't really make sense to me. Like, it just seems like you're almost making him like some kind of tragic guy who's just like, he's like, oh my gosh, he's been forgotten, and he's so sad now, and he wants to come back because he wants everyone to remember him. He wants all the attention. He wants all the fame. He wants to be like Joe in Scream 4, he wants just the attention and fame and whatnot. He wants the recognition, pretty much. And, like, it just, I don't know. For someone like Stu, I just don't really think that would work for me personally, because It just seems like, you know, it kind of just, and this is what I've talked about before many times. I talked about it in my Quinn, explaining why I think it was why explaining why Quinn attacked Gale in Scream 6. Like I said, I did a part 1 and 2 of those videos yesterday, and briefly I talked about it in those videos, and I said that the reason I don't like that some fans are giving Stu some kind of motive is because it just seems like it almost retcons what Stu originally was, which what he was that he was just some guy trying to kill for fun. He didn't care about Billy's plan. He didn't even know about Billy's plan until Billy talked about his motive and revealed to Sydney why he's going after her. Then that's when Stu was like, "Oh, I like he had a shocking look on his face, like he was like he didn't even know." Pretty much, Stu just thought that they were killing for fun. That was their whole reasoning. That was his reasoning. So now that some fans are trying to like give Stu some kind of motive and reasoning and trying to make him seem all tragic and seem like a sympathetic villain, like with some, like I don't know. Like it just seems a little strange to me. I don't think trying to give Stu a motive is really gonna work. Like maybe it does, but I question it for the most part because like I said, he didn't even have a motive in the original film. So now that you're bringing him back for some, personal vendetta or some kind of just like strange reasoning to give him a motive, like, I don't know. Like, he didn't even have a motive to begin with. So why give him a motive now to come back over 25 years later? Like, he just randomly comes up with motives over 25 years and just has this reasoning for why he wants to come back. Like, I just think it kind of it just doesn't really make sense to me. So, like I said, how would Stu even know about certain characters or just even just random Woodsboro citizens that are living there? How would he know in specific who they know Stu is and doesn't know who Stu is? How would Stu know that? How? And how would he know that certain, just certain people there know Billy more than him? How would Stu know that? I don't really understand that. Like, I just feel like, like Stu all of a sudden coming back because he feels forgotten. He wants the attention. He wants fame. He wants all that. Like, he just wants his name to be remembered. Like, that's the reasoning. I don't know. I kind of have a hard time believing that. So, yeah, like Stu coming back for Scream 7 for some kind of, because even if he's coming back because he wants attention, because he's just sick in the head or whatever, it still feels weird to give him a motive though. Like it doesn't, I don't really think it really makes sense for why you would give Stu a motive. Like, he didn't have one to begin with. And now he's all of a sudden thinking of some kind of motive to come back for over 25 years later. Like, I don't know. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. And, like, I've said before, like, could they bring Stu back? Sure. But do I think it really makes sense? Not really. And some of the reasonings and theories I've heard just don't really add up to me. They don't really, I just don't really buy most of the theories that I've heard from some fans for why and how they would bring them back. Just most of the theories, I don't necessarily buy into them. I don't believe them. I don't think they make sense. And that's just, where I'm at. But like in terms of just Stu, like I said, coming back because he wants attention and he wants like fame or whatever. Like he like that's pretty much what, like, how, like, because like here's the thing is that some of these same fans that are like complaining about Scream 6 having the same motive as Scream 2. And they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe Scream 6 had the same motive as Scream 2. Well, here's the thing, is that if you were to have Stu come back because he wants attention and he wants some kind of fame, he wants everyone to remember him and he feels forgotten or whatever, like, you're sort of, copying Jill's motive, which even Jill's motive, copied Mickey's motive, because even Mickey wanted, he didn't want fame, he wanted infamy, he wanted to be known as the villain that he is, while Jill wanted to be known as the hero. But still, like, it just, now you're just going to go through with that motive in a similar concept and do the same thing, which was what some of the same fans were complaining about with Scream 6, saying that Scream 6 had the same motive as Scream 2. And now you're trying to do the same thing with Scream 7, having, Stu want attention and he wants to be remembered. He wants his name to be known. Like, basically trying to make them all, like, egotistical, like how Jill was in Scream 4. Like, it just, I don't know. I just don't really think that would work for me, especially for a character like Stu. The great thing I liked about Stu was the fact that, he didn't have a motive. Like I said, he was just someone who liked to kill for fun. And, trying to give him, because even Jill, like, you could argue that maybe she had something going on, that, like, I don't know. It just, because the thing is with Scream 6 is that they had the same motive as Scream 2, but the planning for the motive that, went around it, and the commentary around the motive as well, sort of was executed a little different, but the motive in itself was the same. So if they were to do the same thing for Scream 7, which, like I said, some of the same fans, like, they were complaining about it, even though, it was done the same, but it had certain things around, not with the motive itself, but just the planning and just the commentary around the motive, not with the motive itself. Because, like I said, the Scream 6 motive was 100% the same as Scream 2 with Mrs. Loomis and all that. But the plan for the killers, with them wanting to frame Sam as some kind of killer, they wanted to make her look crazy, they wanted to make her snap or whatever. Like, that was sort of their plan. Or either that, or they were just going to kill her if that didn't work out. And, so the killer's plans in Scream 6 with Detective Bailey and his family, their planning was executed differently, but their motive, their plan was executed differently, but their motive was the same. But yet, most of the fans only point out the motive being the same, but not the plan being a little different. Like, and the commentary around some of the motive as well. Like, some of the fans were, they still saw the motive as just what it is. So technically, if that's how you see it, with certain fans, and not, like I said, I get it. Like, I do feel like they could have thought of a new motive for Scream 6, even though I don't 100% have a problem with it. But I can see why some fans would, because, like, they could have probably thought of just something different and did something new for a motive and not go along with, the whole revenge stuff. For sure, I could agree with that. But if you're going to say that, though, and then be like, oh, I want Stu to have some kind of, personal motive against someone, or I want him to come back because he wants attention and maybe he wants fame and he feels forgotten. He wants his name to be in everyone's minds and mouths. Like, he just wants to be known. Like, if that's sort of similar to the motive and that Joe had, and even Mickey. So, like, yeah, Stu coming back because he wants some kind of fame or recognition, and he wants attention, and he wants everyone to remember him. He wants to be remembered and whatnot. Like that's still sort of similar to a motive we have already seen before. It is, and even if they execute it differently, I mean, it like Scream Six, like I said, it sort of executed certain stuff differently with like the commentary, but the motive in itself was still the same. So I felt like with Scream 7, it would probably be the same thing. They would execute the planning and commentary maybe with certain stuff differently, but the motive in itself would probably be the same. So, I mean, and just in general, like, you know, with like some of the things like I've heard that like, Stu he like he's trying to, because it's not just this theory that I've heard, like, that's the whole reason I'm making this video, is because that's the main theory I've been hearing lately. It's just that Stu wants to come back for Scream 7 because he wants attention, he wants, and all that stuff. But even if you execute it so that way you don't make it seem like he's a tragic villain with his motive being that reasoning, it still feels like, it just, to me at least, it still feels a little strange, because like I said, making it seem like Stu is some big, you know he's just like he's just a big attention seeker, and that's why he's gonna go killing again. He just wants to, be remembered. He's just so like, oh, like he's like, oh my gosh, like I'm being forgotten, and he somehow knows who remembers him and doesn't remember him, because he could read everyone's minds. He can hear from far away. Like Stu is just sitting in his basement, and he can see and hear from his basement those who know who he is and don't know who he is, and who talks about him and who doesn't. Like somehow Stu knows all of that, and Stu is like, yeah, because somehow I know that no one knows me, I'm gonna go killing. That's the reason I'm gonna come back. And even if he's coming back because, even if he's still somewhat sadistic and, just has that bloodthirst for, to kill, it still feels a little strange to have that be his motive. It just seems like, I don't know. Like I said, I would rather, because even then, like, even if you try to say he comes back just for fun, even that doesn't make sense. But giving him a personal motive, or even just some type of motive in general, with some of the things I've heard, most of them, I just don't really buy into them. So I would honestly like to hear how some Stu fans would really bring him back. And if, because like I said, I like the whole thing about just the Stu stuff. And like I said, I know that they can probably find some kind of way to bring him back. Maybe they could, but for me at least, I've been doubting it, just because well, yeah, for the most part, I mean, I've said this before. I mean, like, I don't want him back overall. And, but what I mainly talk about in my videos when it comes to the whole Stu theory stuff, most of the theories and things that I talk about when it comes to Stu are theories I've heard from some other fans, whether it be on YouTube or, like on Twitter or whatever. Like, some other fans that theorize some of these things, and I see it be talked about. So then I look at them, and I don't really buy into some of these things that I hear. So then I'm just like, all right, I gotta, just make a video about why I don't agree with this certain theory, especially because some of these theories do become big and, and talked about. So, I just feel like eventually I want to talk about it too.
Stop calling me.
So that's why, I'm just talking about this here, and, just certain stuff. So, yeah, I just feel like when it comes to the whole Stu stuff, like I do think that, you know, which by the way, hold on. My bad, guys. Anyways, so when it comes to like Stu, like I'm mainly just talking about the theories I hear that I feel like don't really make sense to me, and that I think that it wouldn't really work out. Um, but I never said 100% that Stu isn't gonna return. I'm just saying some of the theories I'm hearing don't make sense, and why I disagree with some of the theories, and why I just think it overall doesn't really make sense to bring him back at this point. Am I saying they're not going to? No, but I'm just saying I just feel like it's just like a really it's something I don't really buy into overall. But when some of the things like this with Scream 5, some fans that were talking about this with Richie's laptop having the YouTube recommendation saying, did the real Stu Macher is the real Stu Macher still alive? Or yeah, did the real life Stu Macher survive? That's what it says. And yeah, I like, there was quite a bit of Stu fans that were talking about this. Even Craven Something Scary talked about it. And, he talked about like just, because I brought this up in my last video about, when I was talking about why Quinn did, attack Gale in Scream 6. And I did, like I said, I did a part 1 and 2 of those videos. And I brought up that, Craven Something Scary, he did a live stream like a year ago. And it was called The People versus Stu Macher. And in that stream, he was bringing up things that could prove that Stu is still alive. And he had a whole bunch of guests on his stream, like Bearder Entertainment and Gory B Movies and Killjoy Jake, Night Watch Zone. He had a whole bunch of guests on his stream. And Craven Something Scary brought this up at some point with the whole Richie's laptop having the YouTube recommendation saying, did the real Stu Macher still survive? And whenever Craven Something Scary talked about this, he was mainly talking about some of the fans that were saying that they don't think this is a clue, and Craven Something Scary was responding saying why he thinks it is a clue. And of course, it was all just opinions back and forth, because even I've said before, I don't think this is a clue. I don't think this really means anything. But he was just giving his opinion, and his response was just like, like I said, it was mainly just what, he was thinking and what, and yeah. So when it comes to, just like this being called like a theory, or, I mean, not a theory, but, some of the fans like saying that this was a clue and whatnot for Scream 5, like, oh my gosh, this means Stu is going to come back. Like, I just felt like this isn't really a clue, I feel like this is really just them sort of, just like putting these things in there just to get some of the Stu fans riled up and just to bring up conversation, whether you agree with it or not. Like, that's pretty much what I think all these stuff with Scream 5 and 6 that are called Stu clues, I feel like most of it is really just to bring up conversation. And whether if it leads to something or not, I feel like that's really what it is regardless, though, just overall. And, but for me, I don't think this is a clue, because I feel like this is just them acknowledging the fact that there's conspiracy theories about this in their universe. In the Scream universe, they have conspiracy theories about Stu Macher and him being alive, or whether he's alive or not, just like in real life. in real life you see it too. You know, like I said, I'm talking about some of these theories. Yeah, like just like how it is in real life. Some fans, they theorize that Stu could be alive or not be alive. And in the Scream universe, it's the same thing. They have, you know, conspiracy theories on whether Stu is alive or not. Because even this YouTube channel on Richie's laptop that he has in the recommendations, I'm pretty sure is a conspiracy theory channel. So this is really just, I feel like, you know, just them acknowledging the conspiracy theories existing about Stu in the Scream universe, just like how it does in real life. And same thing with Mindy in Scream 6. Like whenever some fans were talking about, like, you know, the whole Mindy and Kirby scene, and Mindy said to Kirby, if you believe he's dead and whatnot. Like some Stu fans were like, this has to be a clue. And yeah, maybe it is, but I feel like I said, it's really just them acknowledging the conspiracy theories about, you know, about the Stu Macher still being alive or not in the Scream universe. They have those theories in the Scream universe just like how they do in real life. So that, I feel like that's what they're acknowledging here. But who knows? Maybe it is. Maybe it is. But I feel like with Scream 5 and 6 overall, like most of the stuff that some fans are saying are clues with both of these movies, I feel like most of them are just their own theories rather than actual clues. Like, I feel like that's really what it is. Most of them are. Like the whole, like I said, the Richie's laptop thing, that is, you could say that is a clue. And that would be more direct as well. And same thing with the Mindy stuff in Scream 6 with her talking to Kirby about Stu. That you could see that as a clue if you wanted to. Like you could say that that's a direct clue. But most of the other stuff that I've heard that some fans try to say are clues with both Scream 5 and 6, they're not really clues. I feel like they're really just some of these fans' own theories that they make up. Like, I feel like that's really what it is for the most part. And that's why I get confused why some Stu fans make it seem like there was 100 different clues with Scream 5 and 6 pointing to Stu, when in actuality, it's just most of these Stu fans making up their own theories. And that's fine if you have theories, but you can't say that they're clues. And you can't say your theories are clues when you're just making your own theories up. They're not actual clues that were actually in the film. They were just your own theories. So that's why I get confused with some Stu fans that try to say that there was clues, because, you know, well, like I said, there may have been some clues with Scream 5 and 6, but most of them are really just some of these Stu fans making their own theories up. That's really what it is. And, you know, so yeah, the whole Mindy stuff, if you believe that's a clue, I mean, that's fine. If you believe the Richie laptop thing saying, did the real Stu Macher survive? If you believe that's a clue, that's fine. But most of the other stuff that were theorized were literally just theories, like I said. They weren't actual clues. Most of them were just some Stu fans making up theories. So there's a difference between actual clues within a film rather than you just making up your own theories. So, yeah, I mean, you know, when it comes to Stu just coming back overall, like I said, I said this before so many times. I even said it in my Will Stu Macher Return for Scream 7, and I did a part 1 and 2 of those videos as well. And I said in those videos for Will Stu Macher Return for Scream 7, in my part 1 and 2 video, I brought up saying, if some fans want to bring him back for a personal reason, or they want to bring Stu back for a more non-motive reason, it's to me, it's still, most of this stuff still doesn't make sense, because I feel like bringing him back just so he can kill for fun doesn't really make sense overall, because like, if he's trying to kill for fun, why wouldn't he do that a long time ago? And if he's trying to target the legacy characters for whatever reason, because he has some personal vendetta against them, even though he killed for fun in the original and didn't really care about them in the first place, then yeah, like whether, like I said, if you're trying to bring Stu back for a personal reason, or because you're not trying to give him a motive at all, whether you're trying to give him a motive or not a motive, it still doesn't really make sense, because it's like regardless, Stu could have done what he wanted to a long time ago. If he's trying to kill for fun, he could have done that a long time ago. If he's trying to kill because he has some personal vendetta against the legacy characters, he could have done that a long time ago too. If he's trying to kill because of Sam and he's trying to kill her, or he's trying to frame her, or he's trying to recruit her to be his partner, he could have done that a long time ago too. And you could try to say, oh, but maybe Stu barely found out right now that Billy has a daughter. Yeah, but even that doesn't really make sense. And because us barely finding out to begin with that Billy had a daughter in Scream 5, even that was kind of just like, it felt out of nowhere. And I'm not saying I don't like Sam as a character, but when I first saw Scream 5, I felt like the tie-in for Sam, connecting to Billy and her being revealed as Billy's daughter in Scream 5, I felt that was a bit out of nowhere. And so then it would feel even more out of nowhere if Stu would also barely find out that Billy has a daughter. And then that's why he comes back, because he has some weird vendetta against her now. Whether it be to recruit her as his partner, or whether it be to, kill her or whatever. He's like, it still doesn't really make sense. Like, he's basically just trying to do all this stuff now. When he could have, if he would have found out that Billy had a daughter a lot sooner and tried to target her for whatever reason, then yeah. But over 25 years later, he barely finds out he has a daughter, and now he's trying to target her. So, that's why he's coming back. I don't know if I buy it overall. Because, randomly one day Stu was like, you know what? I'm going to go on Reddit and I'm going to start a cult. And then he finds Richie and Amber, and then he's like, they tell him about Billy having a daughter, and then Stu was like, oh my gosh, Billy has a daughter? I didn't even know. So can you guys go target Billy's daughter for me? And then Richie and Amber are like, okay, Stu, I'm gonna go do that for you. Is that what happened? And then now he's just trying to target her every few years, because every time his plan fails, Stu is just having to think of a new one and just target Sam every few years, because it was a year apart between Scream 5 and 6. And then now with Scream 7, that's probably going to take place two or 3 years later. So he's just targeting her every few years at this point, every time his plan fails. And he has to keep thinking of a new plan just to target her every few years. I don't know. It just seems strange to me. If he really did fail at trying to do whatever he's trying to do to Sam, whether it be kill her or try to get her to be his partner. If he's trying to get her to be his partner, I don't know why. Then why is he sending killers after her then? What, is he just trying to scare Sam in both Scream 5 and 6? And that's why he's sending killers after her? Stu was like, hey, Richie and Amber, hey, Jason and Greg, can you guys go, target Sam so you can just scare her, so that way eventually I can recruit her to be my partner? Is that what's going on here? Because that just seems a little strange. It doesn't really make sense. And in terms of, because, Detective Bailey and his family in Scream 6, I already said I don't think they were working with him at all, because whenever some fans were trying to say whenever I heard some fans saying that when I heard some fans saying that Stu was working with, like, whenever I heard some fans saying that Stu is working with, Richie and Amber, and then now some fans were saying the same thing with Scream 6, saying that Stu was working with Jason and Greg. I still don't believe that, but I can at least get into those theories a little bit more compared to some of the theories about Stu working with Detective Bailey and his family in Scream 6. That makes even less sense than all the other ones, because saying Stu was working with Detective Bailey and his family in Scream 6, I brought it up already in my Quinn videos yesterday in my part 1 and 2. And I already explained why. I said that, Detective Bailey and his family, they just wanted to get revenge for Richie. And Quinn even said herself that she attacked Gail in Scream 6 whenever she revealed herself. And if you try to say that, but maybe Stu was working with them and he told them to take credit for Gail's attack, well, that doesn't make sense, though, because Detective Bailey and his family literally decided that they should kill off Jason and Greg so that way they don't interfere with their plan. So why would they then work with Stu? That just makes no sense. And the reason I don't personally buy even the theory that Stu was working with Richie and Amber is simply because when it comes to Stu coming back, because he well, not coming back, but when it comes to Stu working with Richie and Amber, to me it seems like they were just big Stab fans. It doesn't seem like they had some kind of connection to someone else that was working on everything behind closed doors. It doesn't seem like that to me. It seems like all Richie and Amber cared about was their Stab film. Like, it doesn't seem like Richie and Amber cared about anything else other than trying to create a whole Stab movie. And that was literally the motive and commentary for Scream 5, which was the whole toxic fandom stuff. And, the whole Stab stuff playing into that. So why would they I just don't really see why they would want to retcon that in Scream 5. I mean, not in Scream 5, but in Scream 7, trying to reveal that, Stu was behind Richie and Amber, and he told them to go kill, and that's the reason they killed, because of Stu. So then that kind of makes the whole motive in Scream 5 seem pointless, because the whole motive, like I said, in Scream 5 was about the Stab stuff and the toxic fandom stuff. That was the whole motive. So then the whole motive for that seems pointless whenever you try to reveal that, Stu was the real reason Richie and Amber killed in Scream 5. It just makes no sense, bro. It just seems like weak retconning. Because at least with Scream 3, they didn't retcon Billy's motive in the original Scream. Billy retconned the whole Roman in Scream 3 retconned the whole Marine stuff. But everything else that happened in the events of Scream 1, you could argue, yes, Roman may have played some kind of, mind gimmick or something that made Billy, want to kill a year later, and target Sydney and whatnot. Sure, but in terms of the plan and everything that happened in the original Scream, that was all Billy. Roman had nothing to do with that. And Billy's motive in the original Scream was not retconned by Roman. So I at least appreciate that about Scream 3, is that Roman only retconned the Marine stuff, not anything else that had to do with the original Scream. That was all Billy and Stu in the original. Roman, pretty much not really having anything to do with it. But now for Scream 7, if they were to try to retcon Scream 5's motives and killers and try to make it seem like that's the reason Richie and Amber killed in Scream 5 was because they were working for Stu, it just seems like weak retconning to me, honestly. Like you, like, and some Stu fans, of course, they don't really care because they just want to see Stu back. But um, I don't know. It just seems like it just doesn't really make sense. And if even because even if you try to say that Stu was, maybe he decided, maybe he told Richie and Amber that he would help them with their whole stab plan, so that way you could keep that still being a part of Richie and Amber's motive. It still doesn't make sense because of the fact that why would Stu even care about Richie and Amber's plan about the whole stab stuff? Why would he even care about that? I'm pretty sure Stu wouldn't even care about the stab stuff, nor would he just want to like help some other killers just help go along with their stabs plan and that being their motive. Why would Stu even care about that? Why would he like? It just makes no sense for Stu to just randomly wake up one day and be like, oh, like Stu he's living in his mom's basement and he's just like, he has his laptop and he goes on Reddit and he's like, he just ran he's like, oh my gosh, you know what I should do? I'm gonna start a cult today and I'm gonna see what I can do. And he finds Richie and Amber and they're like, hey Stu, do you want to help us with our stab plan? And then Richie and Amber tell Stu on Reddit that they're going after Sam and they're trying to just like they explain their whole motive about the whole stab stuff and toxic fandom stuff. And then Stu's like, yeah, I'll help you guys with that. Why not? It just seems like, bro, why, like, would Stu really care about that stuff? Like, would Stu really care about helping other killers to go along with their stab stuff? And it just like, and even then, like, because some fans talk about how poorly and dumb Richie and Amber were in Scream 5. Well, if Stu was in control of them, then all that had to do with Stu, really, because Stu's the one. If Stu is the mastermind, then technically the reason Richie and Amber were dumb in Scream 5 were because you could say it's because of Stu on how he directed them and what he told them to do. If Stu told Richie and Amber to just do all this dumb stuff and told them to be a certain way, then Richie and Amber being dumb killers all has to do with how Stu told them to act and how and what to do and how to be. So it seems to me that Stu, some Stu fans, they like to talk about how smart and how well calculated Stu is and how good of a mastermind he could be. It doesn't really seem like it to me because Stu is possibly sending the worst killers to target Sam and Tara. Stu is, and their plans keep on failing, whoever he keeps sending after. And, then what, Stu has to think of a new plan every few years so that way he could target whoever he's trying to target again. It doesn't seem like Stu's really a good mastermind if all these things are the case. He's sending the worst killers after Sam and Tara, and he's also sending and also his plans keep on failing, so he has to keep thinking of new plans every few years because his plans keep on failing and failing and failing. Like, if Stu really is, a good mastermind, you would think he would just think of better plans and send better killers after his targets, but instead he sends bad killers after his targets. And then not only that, but then Stu, every time his plan fails, he has to think of a new one every few years so that way he could target whoever he's trying to target again. It doesn't seem like he's that smart or that good of a mastermind if that's the case. Because it just like I said, this whole thing about him working with the cult and being some kind of mastermind, like what got him to do all this after so over 25 years. He hasn't done anything over 25 years, and then now he was like, he just woke up one day and he was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna start a cult and I'm gonna go send killers after someone and I'm gonna kill the legacy characters and I'm just gonna do all this because I feel like it, you know. I could have done this a long time ago, but I'm just gonna barely do all this right now. Cause why not? Like that's what Stu's doing. Like it just seems like it just seems weird. Like it just doesn't make any sense. Like, and you know, like it just I don't know if I these are the reasons why I have trouble really buying into this Stu theory, the whole Stu coming back stuff. Like I have a hard time believing it because of just some of the theories I've been hearing just don't really make sense, you know. It's not because I don't think, because when it comes to Stu surviving, like I've never argued about that because like I've said before, yeah, if you want to argue that Stu could have survived, sure. I mean, I don't really, you know, that was never my argument about, you know, Stu like being dead or whatever. My argument was always just the fact that I don't think it makes sense to bring him back after over 25 years. And some of the theories I've been hearing from some fans don't make sense either. That's always been what I've said. But when it comes to Stu surviving overall, like I've never argued that. You know, of course, yeah, if you want to argue that he could survive his injuries in Scream 1, sure. I don't care about that. I'm talking about why I don't think it personally makes sense for him to come back after over 25 years. And some of the theories I've just been hearing just don't really make sense to me. So that's really what it is. Like, you know, Craven Something Scary, he, you know, on his live stream, whenever he did the whole People versus Stu Macher a year ago, and he had Bearded Entertainment, and he had Gory B Movies and Killjoy Jake and Nightwatch Zone on his live stream as his guest on that live stream. So that way they could all prove that Stu's alive and how he could come back, and talking about Stu clues and all that stuff. Like, the thing is just the fact, like, you know, like I said, I agree with Craven Something Scary and everyone else that he had on the guest as his live stream. Whenever they were talking about how Stu could have survived, like, I agree with that part. But everything else, with some of the theories they've said, I don't really agree with them, you know? And it's not like I have to, but, you know, I'm just saying, I don't agree with them. I agree with them in terms of what they say about how Stu could have survived his injuries in that live stream. But, you know, talking about that briefly again, because I talked about it on my last video, that about, like, for those of you who saw my Will Stu Macher return for Scream 7, and I did a part 1 and 2 of those videos, like I said, and I did the whole why Quinn did attack Gail in Scream 6, explaining the reasons why it was her. And I did a part 1 and 2 of those videos yesterday, like I said, and I uploaded them. And in my part 2 of the Quinn video yesterday, when I uploaded it, at the end of that video, I was talking about Craven Something Scary and Bearded Entertainment, how I feel like they kind of contradicted themselves in terms of, like, you know, because whenever they talked about on the People versus Stu Macher live stream a year ago, whenever they tried to prove how Stu could survive his injuries in Scream 1 on that live stream, like, I agree with that part, you know, like, yeah, for the most part, yeah, I agree with that. But what I don't really understand, though, is how they brought up actual statistics showing how Stu could survive. And, you know, because they made comparisons to, you know, factual stuff showing how you could survive lightning strikes. They showed on that live stream how you can get stabbed 50 times and survive, and bleed out for a long time and still live. And they talked about, you know, just how you could get shot a lot of times and survive. They talked about all those things on that live stream of the People versus Stu Macher stream that Craven Something Scary did a year ago. And both Craven Something Scary, Bearded Entertainment, they said it themselves that you can survive a lot of stabs. I'm pretty sure they said you could survive getting stabbed 50 times. I mean, you could survive getting stabbed 50 times. But it seems strange to me now that all of a sudden Craven Something Scary and Bearded Entertainment, they have a problem with Chad surviving Scream 6, getting stabbed 12 times. That I don't really understand that, because you're telling me 50 stabs, you can survive that, but 12 stabs is all of a sudden unbelievable. And yes, Chad did get stabbed 12 times in Scream 6, because I recently rewatched Scream 6 and I saw and counted the stabs, and I replayed it as well. So yeah, I counted 12 stabs in Scream 6. Whenever Chad got stabbed, I counted 12. Not any less, not any more. Some fans make it seem like he was stabbed 35 times, but he wasn't. Chad was stabbed 12 times in Scream 6. And I'm not saying that isn't a lot, but it's not as much as some fans make it seem out to be, because some fans, like I said, they said they were trying to make it seem like Chad got stabbed 30 times in Scream 6 when he actually didn't. And Craven Something Scary and Bearded Entertainment, like I said, on the People versus Stu Macher live stream, they both talked about how you could survive lightning strikes and being shot, and how you could survive being shot a lot of times. And they talked about how you can get stabbed like 50 times and survive. They talked about how you can survive the most craziest things ever. So that way, because they were trying to prove how Stu could survive in Scream 1. That's the whole reason they were Craven Something Scary and Bearded Entertainment were saying these things to begin with. But now, all of a sudden, they have a problem with Chad surviving Scream 6, getting stabbed 12 times, when they literally, in that live stream, proved many ways on how you can survive the most craziest things, with being shot multiple times, being stabbed multiple times, getting struck by lightning. Like, Craven Something Scary and Bearded Entertainment said that themselves, that you could survive all these things in that live stream. But then now they have a problem with Chad surviving Scream 6. So it seems to me that all they were doing was just trying to prove how Stu could survive. But with anyone else, they were like, nope, you can't survive this. It seems like that's basically sort of what they're doing. It's just they're trying to prove the Stu stuff on how he could survive. But for any other character, they're like, nope, it's too unrealistic to survive this. And but like I said, Craven Something Scary and Bearded Entertainment literally said themselves that you could get shot. That you could get stabbed like 50 times and bleed out and still survive. But for Chad in Scream 6, all of a sudden they have a problem with him surviving. So it seems to me that they were only trying to prove the Stu stuff. But when it comes to the Chad stuff or any other character, most likely they're just going to be like, nah, it's too unrealistic. It's not possible. But for Stu, they would probably say that you could survive being decapitated just to prove Stu could be alive, But they wouldn't. I feel like they wouldn't make that argument for any other character though. Craven Something Scary and Bearded Entertainment, and maybe just some Stu fans overall, like they're not gonna go on a limb probably to say certain characters could survive this, or that you could survive that to prove this character can survive this, if it has to do with any other character. But if it has to do with Stu, they're gonna be like, yeah, you could survive this in real life, so therefore Stu could survive this in the original Scream. They're only gonna make those comparisons if it has to do with Stu. That's what it seems like to me. And like, I know Stu. I know Chad took a lot of stabs in Scream 6, and I know overall he took more damage than Stu. But if you're gonna say that you could survive these crazy things on a live stream to prove your point for Stu being alive, but then when it comes to another character, you're saying he can't survive this because it's you think it's ridiculous or you think it's unrealistic. That doesn't make any sense because, like I said, Craven Something Scary and Beard Entertainment literally showed how you could survive being shot multiple times, how you could get stabbed 50 times and survive. Like, they literally showed how you could survive on that live stream, the most craziest things ever. But then for Chad, for some reason, they have a problem with that. Even though he got stabbed like 12 times, he didn't get stabbed 50 times. And, like how they were saying that you could survive, So I guess 50 stabs is realistic, but 12 stabs for Chad, nope, that's unrealistic. Is that what Craven Something Scary and Beard Entertainment are trying to say? That 50 stabs is realistic, but 12 stabs that Chad got is unrealistic? Is that what it is? Because even recently, so yeah, they contradicted themselves with that, I feel like. But not only that, but then with the whole, even recently on a live stream with the whole Scream 7 rumor live stream that Craven Something Scary did recently. And I remember, Polar, I think because she was one of the guests on Craven Something Scary stream for the Scream 7 rumor live stream on Sunday. And Polar at some point had brought up how she hated the inconsistencies with Scream 4 because, Officer Haas, he got stabbed one time in the back and he died. And she was saying that she felt like that was so inconsistent and weird, and how it didn't make sense that certain characters in Scream 4 were dying to really weak stabs. And Polar was basically saying that she felt it was she felt like it was inconsistent, And Bearded Entertainment responded to that, saying that he doesn't have a problem with the inconsistencies because that he said that that's how it is in real life, because it could be inconsistent in real life. The inconsistencies could play a part in real life as well, because someone could get shot one time and die while someone else could get shot 30 times and survive. And Bearded Entertainment said that himself. And so then I was confused by that, because if Bearded Entertainment doesn't have a problem with the inconsistencies in the Scream franchise, with certain characters surviving less, surviving more while others die from less, if Bearded Entertainment doesn't have a problem with that, then why are you talking about how you hate that Chad survived Scream 6 and how unrealistic that is? Why are you always talking about that then? It doesn't make sense. Like I said, and I even asked that in the live chat on Craven Something Scary stream. Whenever I heard Bearded Entertainment say that on his stream, I asked him in the chat. I was like, Bearded Entertainment, if you don't have a problem with the inconsistencies with certain characters surviving more while others die from less in the Scream franchise, then why do you have a problem with Chad surviving Scream 6? I asked him that in the chat, and he didn't even answer. Either because none of them saw my chat, or I don't know. But I didn't even get an answer back to that. So I just felt like it's a bit contradicting for Craven Something Scary and Bearded Entertainment to say that you can survive all these crazy things in real life, but for a movie character, all of a sudden it's unrealistic for him to survive 12 stabs, which was Chad in Scream 6. I don't know. I just feel like it's a bit contradicting. It just seems like only whenever it comes to Stu, they'll bring that argument up, but for anyone else, they're gonna be like, nah, it's unrealistic. Like Bearded Entertainment, like I said, he said himself recently on that live stream, on the Scream 7 rumor live stream that Craven Something Scary did, Beard Entertainment said that, that someone could get shot one time and die, and while someone else could get shot 30 times and survive. And if that's the case, then why do you have a problem with Chad surviving Scream 6 then? Like I said, I just feel like it's contradicting. So yeah, I feel like Craven Something Scary and Beard Entertainment sort of contradicting themselves with that. And I've seen some Stu fans contradict themselves with that just overall. Like, they'll make comparisons on how you could survive this, but for other characters they'll be like, nah, it's not possible. It's just like I don't get it. Like if you're gonna say that you could survive 50 stabs to try to prove that Stu could survive his stabs, but then be like, oh no, this character can't survive getting stabbed like 12 times because that's too unrealistic. Even though you yourself said that you could survive, getting stabbed 50 times in real life. If you're gonna say that, then why is 12 stabs unrealistic for you then? But then 50 stabs, you're over here saying you could survive that. It doesn't make sense. It seems like all you're doing is just trying to prove your Stu theories, but for any other character, you're not going to use that same argument. It seems like that's what it is. So yeah, some Stu fans have just, they've been saying stuff like this, and it makes no sense. But yeah, and I just feel like overall bringing Stu back doesn't make sense at this point. Like him killing for attention, which is what I was talking about earlier, or for fame or whatever, it just seems all random. Like why does Stu all of a sudden care about being remembered more than Billy, or having all the attention and wanting fame or whatever? Like why does Stu care about that? Why would he care about that? Like he's been not doing anything for over 25 years, and then now all of a sudden he gets jealous of Billy, and he's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe Billy's always getting more love than me, so now I'm gonna go on a killing spree because of that. Like what? It just makes no sense. Like, yeah, I don't know. I just don't really buy it. I don't really believe the whole Stu coming back because he wants attention or fame or recognition. He wants everyone to remember his name. He wants to be remembered more than Billy. Like, I just don't buy that theory. It just makes no sense. Like I said, most of the theories I just been hearing for how some fans would bring him back, I just don't think they make sense. Saying Stu is coming back because he wants attention doesn't make sense to me. Saying Stu wants to come back because he's trying to kill the legacy characters doesn't make sense to me, because he could have done that a long time ago if he really wanted to. And saying that Stu wants to come back because he's targeting Sam and Tara, why would he barely find out about them now? And why is he targeting them now? Because whether he's trying to recruit Sam as his partner, why is he just not recruiting her then? Why is he just sending killers after her just to scare her or whatever? What is he doing exactly to recruit her? And if he's trying to kill Sam, then why not send better killers after Sam? And also, why not just target her yourself if you really want her dead? And why would Stu just target Sam every few years instead of just targeting her right away if he really wants her dead? And if you're gonna say, oh, but maybe he's thinking of a good plan and that's why Stu's gonna target her 2 to 3 years from now for Scream 7. Well, if it takes him 2 to 3 years to think of a good plan so that way he could target Sam again, then Stu must not be a good planner or a good mastermind. And he must just not, it just doesn't, he must not be as good as some Stu fans say he is, because of these things. So I kind of find it hard to believe that Stu would be working with anyone just randomly one day. He wants to start a cult, and he's just like, yeah, I'm gonna start a cult, and I'm gonna target these random girls that I don't know, Sam and Tara, and I'm just gonna try to kill them or recruit them to be my partner, and I'm just gonna target them every few years every time my plan fails. Like, yeah, I don't know. And if, like I said, if he's trying to kill the legacy characters as well, why wouldn't he just do that a long time ago? And plus, it's not like Stu even cared about the legacy characters to begin with, because he literally the reason Stu killed in the original Scream was just for fun. He didn't. It's not like Stu cared about Sidney, Dewey, and Gale in the original Scream. He just wanted to kill for fun. So why would he care about them now, all of a sudden, over 25 years later, and now he's trying to kill Sidney, Dewey, and Gale one by one? Like, it just makes no sense. And even if Stu did kill Dewey, like, what, you're telling me he took a year off? He took a year vacation, and then now he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go try to kill Gale. I'm gonna attack her in Scream 6 after it's already been a year." Because Scream 5 and 6, they're a year apart with the actual movies and the timeline as well. They're both a year apart. So what? After Stu killed Dewey in Scream 5, or so-called killed Dewey in Scream 5, he just took a year vacation and was like, "Yeah, now I'm gonna go target Gale after it's already been a year after Dewey died, and just now I'm gonna go kill her, just after it's already been a year." Like, why? If you really want them dead, why not just kill them right away? It just doesn't really make sense to me. If he could have killed the legacy characters a long time ago if he really wanted to, but you're telling me now all of a sudden he wants to kill them, and and saying that he couldn't kill them because he was in prison, I just don't buy that. I just don't think that makes sense. And saying that he's been in a basement this whole time and now he's starting a cult, even that doesn't make sense. So yeah, I don't know. I just don't really buy this whole stuff. I don't think Stu was working with Richie and Amber. I know some fans, they like to bring up the whole argument about, Amber saying that she was radicalized in Scream 5, but I'm pretty sure what she was referencing was, the Stab movies and the whole toxic fandom stuff, because that's literally what the motive and movie was about. So, if you want to say that Amber was talking about Stu right there whenever she said she was radicalized, I guess, but I don't know. I don't really buy it. I don't know. I don't think Stu was working with Richie and Amber, nor do I think he was working with Jason and Greg in Scream 6. Because even Jason and Greg were just Stab fans as well. They wanted to finish Richie's film. Maybe if Jason and Greg were to have a different plan that wasn't revealed for Scream 6, for why they were targeting Sam and Tara, or why they were killing to begin with, then maybe I could have been like, yeah, possibly Stu could have been working with Jason and Greg. But the fact that Jason was, whenever he was talking to Ghostface on the phone in the opening scene of Scream 6, Jason himself told Ghostface, whenever he assumed he was talking to his partner Greg on the phone, Jason said that, they're finishing Richie's film. It's not like Jason said, "Oh, we're targeting her because of this," or like Jason didn't say anything on the phone in Scream 6 that could have possibly hinted towards Stu or anything else. He literally outright said, Jason in the opening scene of Scream 6 literally outright said on the phone, "We're finishing Richie's film." It's not like he hinted towards anything else that could possibly be Stu or anything else in general. He just said, "We're finishing Richie's film." I feel like all this stuff is about, when it comes to these new movies, is, not just the motives, but the commentary as well. I feel like it mainly all has to do with how, the sort of the toxic, not only the toxic fandoms, but just how toxic some can be on the internet overall. So, yeah, and how misleading some rumors and theories can be online. because they basically brought that up with Sam in Scream 6, and and then in Scream 5 they had the whole toxic fandom motive as well. So I feel like it's really just about showing. The commentary has mainly been about showing how toxic um how toxic some can be on social media with toxic fandoms and making up rumors and lies about someone and making up you know conspiracy theories to ruin someone's reputation. Like that's what Scream 5 and 6 commentary has mainly been about. So to try to retcon that to make it seem like, oh, it's mainly about another killer who was actually behind the scenes controlling these killers to begin with. Like, I just don't buy that. Saying that Stu is the real reason these movies happened was because he sent these killers after his targets in Scream 5 and 6. It just does. I'm not really big on that theory. I'm just not, because if Stu, if Stu is really the one behind, if Scream 7 happens and they reveal that Stu is the real reason Amber and Richie killed in Scream 5 and it had nothing to do with the stab stuff or toxic fandom stuff, and that Jason and Greg killed because of Stu, like I'm probably just gonna be like, bro, then what the heck was the point of the toxic fandom motive? What was the point of the commentary of the toxic fandom stuff in Scream 5? What was the point of all that if you're just going to reveal in Scream 7 that it was actually Stu who's the real reason why these killers killed to begin with? What's the point? Like, it just seems pointless. Like, so, yeah, like, literally, Jason said that he's finishing Richie's film. It just, to me, even Jason and Greg just seem like Stab fans who want to create a good Stab movie, just like Richie. So they followed in his footsteps. Jason and Greg followed in Richie and Amber's footsteps to create a good Stab movie, because that's what it seems like all they care about. It doesn't seem like they have some secret mastermind behind them. And plus, if Jason and Greg really were working with Stu, why wouldn't Jason just say that on the phone to the Ghostface that he assumed he was talking to was Greg, even though we know it was Detective Bailey? Or one of the other killers like Ethan or Quinn that were calling Jason on the phone. But, why would, because like I said, Jason assumed he was talking to his partner, Greg, the other Ghostface that he was working with. So if Jason assumed he was talking to Greg, who he assumed was the Ghostface he was talking to on the phone as well, why wouldn't Jason just say his actual plan was that they were targeting Sam and Tara because Stu told them to or whatever? Why would he say that, oh, no, we're finishing Richie's film? Why would he say that instead? If you're going to try to say, oh, it's because they're trying to fool most of us fans, they're trying to trick us or whatever. It's but it doesn't make sense in the movie wise for why Jason, it doesn't make sense movie-wise why Jason would say something else for a different reasoning on the phone to the Ghostface that he assumed was his partner, Greg, and give a whole completely different reasoning for why he's targeting Sam and Tara, and just say a whole completely different reasoning for why he's targeting them. It doesn't make sense. Why would Jason not just say, oh, we're targeting Sam and Tara because because Stu told us to. Instead, what Jason said was, we're finishing Richie's film. That's literally what he said. So, and he said it to, he assumed was Greg on the phone, the Ghostface. So it's not like he would, why would Jason try to be all secret about what his actual plan is to someone who he assumed was his partner? It makes no sense. If all they're trying to do is just trick most of the audience who are watching, it doesn't really make sense. In movie wise, for why Jason would say something completely opposite of what his actual plan is on the phone to the Ghostface that he assumed was Greg, his partner. Like, it makes no sense. So yeah, this whole thing about Stu working with Richie and Amber and working with Jason and Greg, I don't buy it. And I for sure don't buy the theory. I for sure don't buy the theory that Stu was working with Detective Bigley and his family in Scream 6. I definitely don't buy that theory. I don't believe it at all. So yeah, I mean, these are, but like I said, I mean, like for Scream 7, maybe they do bring him back. Maybe Stu randomly starts his cult in Scream 7 and he didn't actually have a cult yet. Maybe he actually brings it up in Scream 7, but still, bro, it still doesn't make sense for him to do all this barely now, to start a cult over 25 years later and want to target, you know, the legacy characters and then Sam and Tara, and then like why he all of a sudden he becomes bloodthirsty and he wants to just kill, like all of a sudden now over 25 years later. Like, it just, most of the reasonings I've heard for why don't make sense. So I don't know if that's the reason why I have a trouble just buying into the whole Stu stuff in general. I just don't really know how they could really bring him back in a way that would make sense. So I don't know. It's just my opinion though. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Like, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. I would really appreciate it. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.